oh, I put this on. Sorry, all of a sudden everyone like popped up and like, John, you're like all up on my screen. So I'm like, oh, oh, let me change that. Sorry, I did not mean to be traveling the universe right now. Let me do
Yes,
this
you
instead.
did. The galaxy. Yes, you did.
Okay, I know I just saw some of these folks like 15 minutes ago. I'd take a break, but I guess now I'll let you take it away, I guess, or lead
All
me
right.
on.
Yeah. Nope. I will go ahead and start sharing my screen. And can you all see the slideshow? Thumbs up. Yes. Okay, perfect. Welcome everyone. I know it's a busy time of the semester with a lot of things that you are all taking care of. We just wanted to take out some time to go over in detail some of the finishing steps that you'll be doing for your thesis and your capstone project. Dr. Santos and I will go over some items, and at the end, we'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. I do want to assure you all that I will be sending the PowerPoint as well as notes after the meeting, so don't feel too rushed if you don't get everything down. And as you can see, we're recording this, so we'll also be sending out the link. Sound good? Alrighty, so let's get started. So today we're basically going over defense logistics, what ScholarWorks is, ADA formatting, the forms that you'll be needing to submit along with your thesis and capstone, and also the fee that goes associated with the process. So I will go ahead and pass it over to Dr. Santos, who will be talking about some defense logistics.
All right, oops, I lost everybody for a second, hold on. So essentially, as you know, that we're scheduling people for a certain time, and we do have sort of the Zoom link. Some of you received some of that from me, but announcements will start coming out in terms of the Zoom link and how to access that. This is particularly important for those family members and friends that want to join as well. So I'll be able to send out some information. Should I share my screen with what I'm reading off right now? No, I'm going to send it out. So you guys just, since you guys are going to get this later on, I'll just sort of continue on. The major points are, one, we'll have a Zoom link, and that's what I'll be sending out the announcements, and some of you already have received that. You'll have both the committee there, the family members there to attend, but basically if you're not going to be presenting, everyone's going to be muted. And then there's a certain format for the time. If you're unsure, I've talked to some folks about it, but basically you have about 20-25 minutes to go through and defend yourself. Then there's going to be about 10 minutes or so where the committee quizzes you essentially, or questions you about your work. The community members that are present are also given an opportunity. And then we deliberate whether or not we'll pass you or not. And if we pass you, if you have any conditions in terms of you have to fix X, Y, and Z. That's sort of the basic format of the hour, depending on maybe who you have as chair. For example, Dr. Morton typically gives people a little bit longer, only because there's a lot more talking that she sort of goes back and forth and does. But in the end, we all finish out within the hour. Or Dr. Hulla might be very strict about the 20 minutes and then quiz you more so to be able to show your public health chops. Some of the things to note, though, is some of the niceties and etiquette that will go along with this. The etiquette being things like being prepared. You're not just sort of showing up to sort of have drinks with your friends online. You're doing a thesis defense, and so we're expecting that to have that same tenor as you would do it in person. Having a place where you can do this quietly, so you're not competing against, well, I doubt that people are at a coffee shop right now, but, you know, noise. But those type of considerations when you are presenting, so that people in the background listening aren't having to compete with extra things and distractions. One thing I will also suggest, and I sort of skipped over this, is practice, but practice in many ways. So practice to make sure that you have your technology up and running, but also practice in terms of you knowing your time limits, what you have to say. If I'm your chair, you know that I'm asking people to practice with me. It is that important. So I guess from there, I will send out specific instructions and information in a little bit because I have to fix the Zoom numbers, but you'll get basically the instructions in written form that I just went over now.
Great, thanks, Dr. Santos. Let's go back. All right, so after you have completed this whole process, your thesis and or your capstone paper will be uploaded to the university's repository through ScholarWorks. And it's not actually just through Cal State San Marcos, but it's through the CSU system as a whole. So we're going to be talking a little bit about what that entails, as well as some steps that are associated with it. I just do want to really encourage you all to not wait to the last minute to submit your thesis or your capstone project to ScholarWorks. The deadline to do so is December 10th at noon, but there are multiple steps that need to be done prior to you actually uploading the document, the Word or PDF document itself. So, all right, let's go ahead and get started. So this is ScholarWorks here. As you can see on this slide, it's a place where you can go ahead and search a database of all the theses, capstones, projects, and dissertations from all of the students, graduate students at Cal State San Marcos. It's great. It's a wonderful tool for you to share your completed work, as well as if you are stuck on formatting, or you just need some ideas, or you need just some inspiration, you can pop onto ScholarWorks and just check out what some of your colleagues in the past have done. So again, ScholarWorks, everything needs to be submitted, uploaded to this link as a PDF by December 10th at noon. It's a very, very strict deadline. It's a hard deadline, and sometimes we can request an extension, but no longer than a week. But those extension requests have to be submitted way in advance of December 10th. It can't be December 9th at 11:59 p.m. or it can't be December 10th at 11:30 a.m. It has to go through a process. So again, please keep in mind, December 10th is the final deadline, but you really want to try to shoot for earlier on that week. The document that you will be uploading has to be ADA formatted. And what that means is it needs to be accessible through different JAWS viewing, different ways for folks to view it online. So what we can do is we'll be chatting a little bit later on how the library will assist you with the ADA formatting, especially with if you have any charts or anything like that, it can get a little funky. In addition to submitting your thesis and your capstone paper, your signature page, which we'll be talking a little bit later, must be the top sheet cover for your thesis and capstone, and have that uploaded. They will not accept your thesis or capstone without a signature page, okay? And for those of you that are in group capstones, your actual paper itself only needs to be submitted once. So not all committee members have to submit, it just needs to be submitted once. Okay. So there's a link that you will be uploading the document to ScholarWorks. It's really easy. I often say if you can upload a picture in social media, you'll be able to upload to ScholarWorks. So this is what it's going to look like. And again, I'll be sending you instructions on this. So again, ADA formatting. If you have not already done so, or if this is the first time that you've been hearing about this, we really suggest that you take advantage of the service that the library team, the ScholarWorks team offers, and submit your current draft of your thesis or your capstone paper to them. And then here's the email on the screen. If you do it by November 16th, they'll go ahead and format everything for you and email it back so it's all set up and ready for you. Okay, so this is really a wonderful service. They just started about a year ago, and I know prior to that, a lot of students had issues with it. So do, please, please, please make sure that you submit it by November 16th. So as I had mentioned before, you can go ahead and submit a draft of what you have, either your thesis or capstone. After you have actually defended and received the approval of your committee and actually have a final PDF form of your thesis or capstone, you can resubmit that to the library along with your signature page, and they'll do a final check just to make sure everything is still correct and all formatted before you upload to ScholarWorks. So again, this is why you really want to plan accordingly, plan ahead, and try to get everything in as best format as possible by the time you're defending. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about the forms. There are 2 forms that you need to submit, or that need to be submitted along with your thesis or your capstone. Usually when we used to have defenses in person, it used to be wet signatures, but of course now that we're on a virtual format, it's all going to be done electronically, digitally. So the first form is your signature page. The signature page is essentially the top cover sheet of your thesis or capstone, but it also shows the approval and the endorsement of your committee chair and your committee members of the quality of the work that you've done and that you have passed. So your signature page will be signed by all committee members. You will receive a copy of it once all your members have signed, and then you'll again take that and merge it as a top cover sheet for your thesis or capstone. The certification form is the official form for the library to note that you have gone through the ScholarWorks process. One thing that you will want to take in consideration as you're filling out this form, and this will be in consultation with your chair, is will you allow open access of your thesis or capstone, or will you request to have it embargoed? So for the majority of you, it will be open access. For some of you who may have sensitive data, maybe you're using some data work from your faculty advisor, and you don't want it to be public, then you're going to want to request an embargo. Embargoes can be anywhere from 1 or 3 years, but again, it has to be in consultation with your faculty advisor, or excuse me, your committee chair. Dr. Santos, anything else about embargoes that you want to add in? No?
Another reason why you might want to embargo your thesis, if you plan, or your chair and you are planning on submitting your thesis as an article publication in a journal, because typically journals would only want first rights to publication of your work versus you published it as a thesis and now you're going to publish it again. So that's another thing.
Great, thank you. So once this document has been completed and signed, my office will go ahead and submit it to the library on your behalf. So all you need to do with the certification form is start the process. So you will need to e-sign it first before it can get routed to your committee members. And then from there, there's nothing else you need to do. I'll take care of it from our end. Again, your signature page, you'll need to submit because it's the top sheet of your thesis. Your certification form, we take care of it for you. So we use Adobe Sign to get the signatures, the electronic signatures. We'll manage the whole process on our end. But in order for us to do so, what we need for you to do is actually tell us what type of information needs to be on that form. So are you going to embargo it? Confirm, again, all your committee members, because I know we've had some switches, and so forth. So in order for us to have that information, you'll need to fill out this ETD submission form. And again, I'll send you the link. And once you get that, what will happen is after your defense, so let's say you're defending on December 1st. On December 1st, we'll go ahead and push out the request for both your signature page and your certification forms. The Adobe Sign request will come from this eSign email address. So just make sure that the next day, perhaps after your defense, if you haven't received a request, check your junk or your spam folder, because that's what the email should, it'll be sent from. Okay, and some other tips too, when e-signing, you're gonna wanna use your CSUSM email address. Don't create a new one. Use only Firefox or Chrome, and make sure your pop-up blockers are off, okay? So again, we'll route that whole process. And it would be helpful if you also just check in with your committee members, especially the ones who may not be faculty members or lecturers on campus, maybe they're community partners, just to clue them in on what that process is that they'll be e-signing through Adobe Sign. So all graduate students who will be finishing a thesis or a capstone are required to pay a $25 fee. That fee actually goes to funding the whole process with ScholarWorks, including the ADA formatting and so forth. So you're going to want to go ahead and pay the $25 fee online. And once you've paid it, you'll get emailed a receipt. Please forward that email to me, and I will take that along with your certification form and get that to the library for you. So again, we're really trying to take as much as possible for you. So again, just pay the fee, forward me the receipt, and then we'll take it from there. So to recap, so before your defense, what we need for you to do is to ensure that you email your draft of your thesis or your capstone paper to the ScholarWorks team so they can start the ADA formatting. And again, you want to do that before November 16th. The sooner the better. I know they're probably going to get a rush of folks by around the 15th or the 16th. So even if it's just a draft, go ahead and submit it now. Submit that form information to me so we know how to populate your Adobe sign forms. And then go ahead and pay your ETD payment and forward me a copy of that receipt. After your defense, you're going to want to e-sign that certification form. And this is optional, but you can then send your signature page and the finalized thesis to the library again so they can do that final check. It's optional. If you feel like you got it, you're good to go. You don't need to do it, but it is an option for you. And then the last step is to upload that final document to ScholarWorks by December 10th at noon. You will get an email confirmation from the ScholarWorks team once it's been received. It usually takes them about 1 or 2 days to get that response back. So come December 11th, if you don't hear right away, don't freak out. It just takes them a while to process because they are processing hundreds of thesis and capstones at this time of the year. Okay. And really, that's pretty much it. Like, I know that sounds like a lot, and I know you all are going through a lot, but we really just want to say, like, we're very, 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 very proud of all the work that you all have done. We acknowledge how hectic a time this is. Even when we're not in a pandemic, this is usually a challenging and busy and chaotic last couple weeks of the program. So if there are any questions, again, I will be sending you all this information, but please feel free to go ahead and shoot me an email back and let me know, okay? So let's take any questions that you might have. Are there any questions?
I have one.
Go for it.
So on the to-do list, the submit form information to that specific website, are you going to be sending that out, or do we just follow this and type in that link?
Nope, I'll be sending out the links.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
No problem.
And then, Nam, if I could add, that initial link, if you don't do it, then you don't set everything else up. So that's what sort of generates all of the other pushes for those documents later on.
So also for the ADA compliance email, so we just email it to them and we don't have to pay anything?
Can you say that again? Sorry, it was a little quiet.
For the ADA compliance, we just email it to them and we don't pay anything, correct?
Correct, yeah. So the ADA compliance, you just email the thesis or capstone in a Word document. You want to include your name, your student ID, that you're in the MPH program, and they'll typically get it back to you within 1 or 2 days. There is that final separate payment though, the $25 overall ETD payment, but there's not one just for the ADA compliance.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions?
There's a question in the chat. What happens if you don't get credit for the thesis defense? What would be the next steps? I am assuming that means if your committee doesn't pass you. I'm assuming that's what that means. If it doesn't mean that, then please clarify. But say in the defense, if there is reason for your committee to either want more clarification from you in the written form, then yes, typically they'll they'll tell you, like at the defense, they'll tell you what you need to do and then give you a timeline for completion. If you're not able to do that in time to submit, then yes, you have the potential of being delayed. So for example, for my students, I told everyone that no one is defending orally if I don't think that you're going to finish out successfully. So hopefully that's the case for everybody.
Also, in the event that you have submitted your ET payment, the $25, and for some reason you get rolled over to spring, you don't have to pay the $25 again. It's just that one-time deal. So I think if that could allay really any kind of concern about that. Any other questions? I'm just checking the chat right here.
I actually have a question.
Sure.
So it's only 20 to 25 minutes to defend, and then there's an additional 10 minutes for Q&A from the committee members?
Yes, so definitely no more than 30. I aim for about 25 on mine, but the questions from the committee members would be like your committee chair, making sure that you have enough public health credibility to be able to answer a range of related questions. So it might not be specifically like, hey, Velia, tell me about what you did in your methods. It might be clarifying those methods, but it could also be, okay, well, you studied alcoholism. Can you also apply what you learned to marijuana use? And then you will be judged on that type of response as well.
Oh, okay.
Because you need to show the synthesis of information enough to be able to be considered a master of public health.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. Thank you.
Sure. Anything else?
Anything else? All right. Okay. So again, Dr. Santos and I will be sending out additional materials to all the links, all the steps, everything that we talked about, including the slideshow here and a link to the recorded session. It will probably get to you by tomorrow, so don't worry if you don't see anything tonight. But again, just good luck. We know it's crazy. Just focus, barrel through. We're really excited for you. And if anything comes up, don't hesitate to send us an email, okay? All right, everyone, have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night.